Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and I'm from amandacrochets.com, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this easy half double crochet blanket. I wanted to make something very basic and easy for even the most beginner crocheters can make. So I wanted to make a blanket that was all just one stitch and doesn't require any other special stitches or anything like that. So with today's blanket, I'm just using some solid colored yarn, and this is Red Heart Super Saver. You can get this in most craft stores, and I really like this country blue color. It's not showing up too well on my camera, the color anyway. It's a little bit washed out, but it's this very, very pretty blue. This is about as accurate as the color will get on my camera, so I thought it was just a very pretty blue, and I knew I had to pick it up. So for this blanket, it's all made with half double crochet stitches, as I mentioned, and this blanket ended up being 35 inches wide by 35 inches long. However, because this blanket does not require any special multiples, all you need to do is just increase or decrease the amount of stitches, as well as decrease or increase the amount of rows in order to completely change up your blanket. You can make this blanket smaller just for a little lap gan if you wanted, or you can make this all the way up to a king size. The options are completely up to you. So let's get started on today's tutorial on how to make the easy half double crochet blanket. So for today's tutorial, you're going to need 3 skeins of Red Heart Super Saver, and the color I'm using is country blue. This is a number 4 medium worsted weight yarn, and the recommended hook size is an I9 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. This is also 100% acrylic and machine wash and dryable. I really like this yarn for beginners, as you can find this in a variety of different stores as well as online, so it's always very helpful to get a yarn for beginners that a lot of beginners can find. And the Red Heart Super Saver is a 7-ounce skein, and it is 198 grams. It's 364 yards or 333 meters, and again it's the country blue, and you're going to need 3 skeins of this yarn. However, if you wanted to use another acrylic yarn, you can certainly do that as well. Just make sure that you look at the specs here that I mentioned and kind of go along with that. However, if you wanted to make this blanket smaller or bigger, you will need less or more skeins depending on how big or how small you make your blanket. Also, you're going to need a size J 6mm crochet hook, and I decided to go up a hook size than the recommended hook size just because I wanted this blanket to be a little bit more flowy and a little bit easier to make my stitches, as beginners sometimes have difficulty. So I definitely recommend using a bigger hook size if you're just starting out with your first crochet project. You're also going to need some scissors and a tapestry needle. So for my easy beginner half double crochet blanket, I ended up making a chain of 102. You can make any size chain that you like. There's no multiples for this pattern, so you can make this blanket as big or as small as you would like. And all you need to do is just make the number of chains that you would like to make. So again, for my blanket, I'm going to be making 102 chains. So to make a chain, you're going to do yarn over your hook and pull through that loop on your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue making chains until you reach 102 chains or your desired width. Okay, now that you have your 102 chains or your desired width, you're going to start your first row. So to begin row 1, you're going to make a half double crochet into the second chain from your hook. So the loop on your hook does not count. You're going to count 2 chains from your hook. So 1 and 2, and in that second chain from your hook, you're going to make a half double crochet. So to make a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that second chain, yarn over your hook, pull through that loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and that is your half double crochet. Next, you're going to make 1 half double crochet in each of the chains across your blanket. So again, yarn over your hook, into your hook into that next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Again, in that next chain, you're going to do yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. One more time, yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So you're going to work 1 half double crochet across the entire chain of your blanket, and I will meet up with you at the very end and show you how to continue onto row 2. So here is what your first row would look like. And as a beginner, if you always have trouble with keeping your edges straight, I highly recommend putting a stitch marker in the very first stitch and in the very last stitch of each row, just to make sure that you keep your edges straight, and that way you could tell where the beginning and end of your row starts and ends. And as you move up with each row, you will move your stitch marker up as well. So again, this is your first row. To move on to row 2, you're going to chain 2, so 1 and 2, and you're going to turn your work. And again, you're just going to make simple half double crochet stitches. So you're going to skip the chain 2 as well as that very first stitch. You're going to yarn over and you're going to go into that second stitch right here. And if you flip your work over, you're going to see that little V right here. You want to make sure that when you go into that stitch, that you go underneath both those loops. And you will just continue half double crocheting in each stitch across. Now in this case, that chain 2 is going to count as your first stitch, so you want to put the stitch marker in the top of that chain 2, and then that way you know that this is the last stitch that you're going to make your half double crochet in order to keep your end straight. So just repeat this across your entire row, making 1 half double crochet into each chain or each stitch across. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of row 2 and I just have 1 stitch left, and I'm just going to work my last half double crochet in that last stitch. Again, you want to put that stitch marker in the very last stitch so that way you can keep track of your edges. So this is 2 rows of that half double crochet, and as you can see, it forms that little bit of a ridge in between each row. So to continue with the beginner half double crochet blanket, you're going to repeat row 2 over and over again. So you're simply going to chain up 2, turn your work, and again you're going to work into that second stitch, and you're just going to work a half double crochet in each of the stitches across your blanket. So keep making those half double crochet stitches, and I will meet back up with you when it is time to change skeins. Okay, so I've come up to the end of my skein, and as you can see, I just have a little bit of a tail left. So whether you start in the middle of your project or you start at the end of your project, changing colors or changing skeins is the exact same method. So in order to do this, you're going to work your next stitch, but you're not going to complete it. So you're going to yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now instead of yarning over and finishing out that stitch, you're going to drop your old skein right behind you. You're going to grab that new skein. Now make sure you leave a little bit of a tail so you can weave that in later. You're simply going to lay that new yarn over, and you're going to pull through with that new yarn. And then I just like to give it a little bit of a tug. And then you're going to start your work with your new skein. So again, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. And you would just continue with this. And then at the end, you will go ahead and weave in your ends. Now again, if you're using a different color yarn than the one that you started with, or if you're using the same yarn, the method of changing colors or changing skeins is the exact same. So continue making your easy half double crochet blanket and just keep making those half double crochet stitches, and I will meet up with you at the end and I'll tell you exactly how many rows that I made with this blanket, as well as show you the completed project. Okay, so I'm coming up on the end of my blanket and I have 2 stitches left. Okay, and then you're going to cut your yarn and you're going to leave a little bit of a tail. I already did this step. So once you cut your tail, you're simply going to yarn over and pull through that last loop, pull your whole tail through, and then pull to tighten. Now for my easy half double crochet baby blanket, I ended up making 90 rows. However, you can always change up the number of rows that you make in order to get the size that you like. But if you're going to make the same exact size blanket that I made, you're going to want to make 90 rows of half double crochet stitches. So then you're going to get your tapestry needle and you're going to weave in your yarn like that, and then we're just going to weave in the end. So what you want to do is you want to go in between the stitches just to hide that tail. And you're going to go in a few stitches one way. Now you don't want to pull your tail super tight, you just want to hide it. So again, you just want to go one way and then you want to go another way, just enough to hide your tail. I like to go back and forth 3 times just to make sure my tail is very secure. And you would do this with the other ends of your blanket as well. And then once you feel like your tail is secure, you just want to go ahead and cut that tail, and then you're done. So this baby blanket ended up being about 35 inches wide by 35 inches tall. Again, you can make this any size that you like by just increasing or decreasing the amount of chains that you do, as well as increasing or decreasing the amount of rows that you do. So again, this blanket is completely customizable to whatever you like to do. And to count your rows, you would just look right here. So this is 1 row and this is 2 rows. So if you could see, about every 2 rows you have that little bit of a ridge sticking out. So that means in between those ridges you have 2 rows. So if that helps you a little bit, so you have a ridge right here, you have 1 row and 2 rows, and then you have that ridge that's sticking out right here. So that's 2 rows right here, 2 rows right here, 2 rows right here, and so on. So thank you so much for joining me today on making the easy half double crochet blanket. I hope you enjoyed this very beginner friendly pattern, and I hope you give this a try if you are just starting out and learning how to crochet. Please like, comment, and subscribe to see all future videos by me. And as always, happy crocheting! Bye!